Hey guys, this is Let's Level Up and my name is Rick. And today we're going to be talking about Clash of Bonds, a current Kickstarter project that's going to introduce a new CCG to the world. If you're unfamiliar with CCGs, it is a collectible card game. Essentially, you'll buy Clash of Bonds cards and booster packs, potentially, and assemble them to make a 30-card deck. Now in this game, I'm going to be represented by a figure and issuing commands to troops and whatnot, and so is my enemy. We're both going to have 10 life. Now we're going to play our characters, and they're going to play out sort of like an anime battle. I can either charge up spiritual combo or spiritual energy and unleash those as techniques during our fight, or all out attack you up front. I'm going to have two characters in the combat, one in the front and one in the back providing support. If my power beats your power after all the techniques are resolved, I'll win that combat and potentially do damage. When we're talking about Clash of Bonds, there's a couple things that I want you guys to keep account for. One, this is a current Kickstarter campaign, so if you see something you like in this game, you think there's actually something worth promoting here, I recommend you definitely check the link in this description of the video and go and look at the campaign and see if there's a backing level that suits you and what you're looking for. Also, what we're looking at is a very early prototype level of this game. So Josh and Eric, there's a lot of different things here that they may go through there and actually tweak at the end of this, before this campaign ends. Some of the artwork, the different layout of the cards, and so on and so forth. So let's go through there and let's kind of look at some of the different cards. Again, a Clash of Bonds is going to play much like an anime would or an episode of Dragon Ball Z. It's not a lot like Magic in the terms where I'm just going to play a ton of creatures out and kind of swarm you or overrun you. I only have 10 health in this game, and I can't exceed past 10. So a character like a Matsutenshi is going to be very important for us to be able to defend ourselves. You'll notice there's not a health value or a strength value. There's only two actual numbers on this card. That is their current power, which is the red number here, and their support value. Now their power and their support are kind of like their health and their defense all wrapped up into one number. So this is important to note. This is also a very kind of character-driven game. Matsutenshi is a warrior, and so this is our base character. She's also female. There's a little flavor text here. And one of the things I've already kind of talked to the guys about, I'm not really digging the flavor text. A little too small, a little too hard to read with the way the effects are. I really love the backgrounds of these cards. I think that's very nice. And a lot of the artwork on some of these cards is really good. Some of them I'm not too big of a fan of. But overall, I think the artwork here is very cool. It's very kind of it has a very cool manga feeling, if that makes sense, of kind of like an Asian comic book. So here's a Matsutenshi. You know, she has a power of 3. Now in this game, we're going to attack by assembling squads, and a squad are two characters. And then essentially it's going to kind of like a Japanese role-playing game. I'm going to have two rows, a front and a back. I can have one character in the front and one character in the back. Now those characters are going to be the front characters only. We're going to look at power, and the back character is going to add their support value to that. So somebody like the Destined Pirate here makes a great support character. He's another base character. His class is Pirate. He's a male. He has an attack value or power value of 2 and a support value of 2. So when paired up with a Matsutenshi, is actually a very cool pair. Her value of 3 and his support of 2 is actually going to make a combined squad strength of 5. So it's going to make it very interesting for our opponents to be able to counter this. I'm going to set these down really quick. There are also a couple of other types of cards here I wanted to talk about. One here is a Matsutenshi again, but you can see this one is a level card. This is actually, your characters can level up as you play this game, which is something I think is a really cool, it's a very interesting way to play these kinds of games. So rather than essentially just put a bunch of counters on a creature and buff it up that way, they'll actually gain levels. And you can see that the leveled up Matsutenshi has a power value of 5, whereas her base character had a power value of 3. So that's an interesting way to do things. There are also cards in here called techniques. Techniques are actually going to be played during the exchange tactics phase, and this is one of the phases of battle. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to determine who's going to be attacking first. The other player is going to be known as the defender, and the attacker is going to be essentially initiating that combat. And then it's going to pass back and forth over and over again until there's a winner. Now, the techniques are actually, you're going to have a value here, which is going to be the number of spirit tokens you're going to need in order to resolve this this ability. And spirit tokens are kind of like when I talked to the developers of this game, they described it in Dragon Ball Z, where you see Goku charging up to do his Kamehameha wave. While Amatsu Tenchi or the Destined Pirate are going to be able to gain spirit tokens or spirit energy, spirit counters, I believe is what they call them in the game. And those counters are going to be earned if you do not attack during your turn. So essentially you stop, you wait, and you charge up, and then when you pass the turn to the defender, now they're the attacker, they can make the same decision. Now I'm going to be able to spend any of the spirit counters I have on techniques during the exchange tactics phase, which is essentially after I initiate the attack, I declare which squads are going to be going into, and again, I'm going to have squads of 2 characters, and I can have up to 3 squads in my combat. So essentially I can have up to 6 characters attacking at one time. At the beginning of the round, after I draw my card and we kind of establish the different things in the early phases, there's going to be an event phase. And event cards it's actually interesting. You can play an event a turn, and your event's going to change the way this round is going to be played. So for instance, Divine Rebound says that you may only play this card if you have 5 or more character cards in your discard pile. It says select 1 base character from your discard pile and add it to your hand. So this is an interesting. Again, I'm not a big fan of this text here. It makes it a little hard to see. So something I'd like to see get cleaned up before this game goes to actually print. But this is an interesting way. It's a way for you to essentially bring a character back from the graveyard and play it here. You can only do Divine Rebound though, is if you already have 5 characters in that discard pile. Here is another one. I've actually got 2 copies of Quick Reaction in my hand, so I'm just going to drop one of them down. Okay, so Quick Reaction is actually a counter card, and I'm a big fan of counter cards. I like to play blue a lot when I play Magic, so I was happy to see something like this in the game. So if you can read that, it says target 1, and then it says the target is another event card, and essentially this is going to counter an event card. So basically it nullifies an event being played, and then this will essentially make it so that didn't happen. Here's another Destined Pirate, and our technique again of sharp skills. So that's just a couple examples of how this game is going to be played. One thing I'd like to do in this Clash of Bonds preview video is highlight a few things that I think are interesting mechanics within the Clash of Bonds universe. First and foremost, let's talk about the theme. I really like the anime style theme that they seem to be developing here. The idea that this is going to be more of a character-driven game is going to provide a more unique atmosphere. Rather than having 15 copies of Amatsu Tenchi on the table and really making her meaningless, I put one out and I pair her with one other person to form a squad. The squad combat is also something I think is very unique and very, at the end of the day, memorable in terms of CCG play. So when I form a squad, these 2 characters are going to really build upon one another, and they do so in a very easy way. So they add the power and the support. So rather than Amatsu Tenchi going in alone and being a 3, she goes in there with a Destined Pirate and providing support, and now they're a 5. And that whole thing with the defender being able to do the same things makes that a very unique way for an otherwise very common CCG battle would work out. It also gives us an interesting reason to explore other alternatives. Rather than having a color of mana or something like that in play, this is a way for us to kind of mix and match different tactics without having to be bordered by a particular resource that we would potentially be lacking. I really like the idea of my characters being able to level up as well. With no surprise, this being the Let's Level Up channel, of course, leveling up is kind of what we do. It's all about the grind at the end of the day and getting better, right? So the idea of leveling up and just at the end of the day is when we practice things. So Matsu Tenchi has been in battle, she's been fighting, and she's gotten so good that she's now at another form and has gotten better. That mechanic alone is huge to me. I do also like the idea of having to hold off my attacks and charge up my energy in order for me to perform techniques in the combat. The idea of just the spirit counters alone is a very neat one for me. I'm not too sold on the event phase yet. I personally probably could do without it, but it's an interesting way to, I guess, get more cards in the set and kind of tweak the way the game or the round is going to be played. But I mean, I haven't seen any of the cards yet, and I've only seen a few of these cards. I've got 2 starter decks, which are each 30 cards. So there's not a whole lot there that I've actually been exposed to. As we'll say, as far as the events go, I'm not 100% thrilled with. Again, I'm not 100% thrilled with the way the layout of these cards are either, but I think that's something that is only going to improve as this campaign continues. So as always, if you guys have seen something in this video that you like and you think Clash of Bonds is going to be something that's going to fit your gaming group or maybe your gaming store, I definitely would recommend you check out the Kickstarter and provide Josh and Eric some feedback regarding this game. Well, that was it for Clash of Bonds. I hope you guys got a good idea of how the game is going to be played. And again, if you'd like to donate to the Kickstarter program, check the link in the description of this video and do so. As always, if you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, please do so. We're going to have a lot of really cool stuff coming up in 2014. So I'm very excited for that. And Eric and Josh, thank you so much for letting me check out Clash of Bonds. I wish you guys luck in the campaign.